It's Thursday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, Friday, February 15th, if you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and romantic night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including our digital stations, Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe today. Tonight, we take a deadly look into Hollywood and some of the most famous deaths. Beyond the flash of the cameras and the glitz of the red carpet is another world. It's a world of power, money, sex, violence, carefully hidden behind the curtain. From mysterious deaths to murders covered up by officials and publicists to the 27 Club, veteran journalist Celeste Ward, who has covered the police beat for more than 20 years, journeys down the rabbit hole to explore this hidden world, carefully pulling away the veneer to expose the underbelly of Hollywood and to expose the Celebrity Death Club. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we are going to get to Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine with the SOR Newswire. Celeste Ward, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
I am very excited, too, and I'm also excited because this is your first ever radio interview in regards to Hollywood Death Club, which makes it so much more fun and entertaining because we're both living together.
It's my inaugural radio appearance, so I'm very excited.
Excellent. Well, we are very glad to have you here. And you mentioned that you have been a journalist for more than 20 years. And as a fellow journalist myself, you know, the one thing we do know is we have a curiosity to questions. Did you always want to be a journalist growing up?
You know, I didn't. I always knew I would be a writer of some sort. My dad actually was in radio, so he was a journalist. And once I started studying communications, I thought I would getting into writing. But I think I always had a lot of questions, and I tend to not believe what I hear the first time. I always tend to think there's more to something. So that lends itself to journalism pretty easily.
Yes, I understand that. See, I wanted to be a fighter pilot growing up, but when I finally got of age and within a couple of years I had pins in my knees and I was wearing glasses, I knew that dream was over. So it's something that, sometimes you have to give up on what you actually want to do, but you find something fun and entertaining in between that. So you've been on the police beat for a couple of decades now. What's that like, having to work so closely with the men and women of blue?
It can be really, really tough because anytime you're at work, you are talking to and seeing people probably on the worst day of their life. And you have to have a certain amount of empathy for people, and you just have to be able to get them to talk to you. And it can be really, really tough. I ended up working with so many officers. I knew so many of them in the county that I live in that they became friends, and they ended up trusting me and telling me things that I could never print. So I heard a lot more about the stories I covered than I could ever print. So it just became like a way of life instead of a job. It just took up most of my hours. So it was a job I really enjoyed.
And you look at it and you get to know these officers on a more human, personal level once they build that trust with you. I mean, this is where holding your sources tightly and your information tightly really comes together as a journalist, because you look at it and you run with it and you're like, man, I would love to print this, but I can't break that trust. I can't break that source. But it may lead to something bigger down the road. You really have to pick and choose what you can and cannot say.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's so many great things I heard, not just officers, but ranks way above them say that I could never, ever, ever print. But once they came to know that they could be themselves and say things around me, and they knew I wouldn't betray that, then it did pay off. Because
there's a lot of people, Celeste, out there, especially in the paranormal field and UFO field, where, and I realize I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone with this, but I promise it does actually mean something towards the topics we talk about here on a nightly basis, and it will make sense. But we get a lot of people on social media, especially in the UFO and ghost world, paranormal world, whatever you want to call it, who say, show me proof. You have no proof. Who are your sources? Out your sources. They don't understand what a source really means. And I could see the aggravation that a lot of people have, because I have sources that I will not give up, who give me information. You have them. Other people have them. Why is it so important? And what does the public need to know about holding on to a source? Why is it important?
Oh, that's a good question. It's just a matter of proving that you're trustworthy, proving that you are not going to run with the first bit of, salacious information that you hear. And yeah, I see why people who aren't in journalism don't understand it, because they feel if something is true, you should be able to just say where you got it. But that's not exactly how it works. It's more about a relationship and knowing, just people knowing who they can trust and who they can't. So for a journalist, we're taught we would go to jail before we'd reveal a source. I mean, that was always the agreement. Everyone
mine too.
You do not give where you got something, but you have to have enough credibility that people will believe what you are writing or saying, because you do know people who know the entire story.
That's exactly right in regards to it. But you have to realize, too, that if somebody is giving you pertinent information that's going to lead to a story being told, this is old school journalism. It's none of this infotainment that we see, especially on the major news networks or even some major newspapers, the way they are going to entice readers and viewers these days. Old school journalism is really about protecting who's giving you that information to break that story. I mean, so many times we've seen it over time, where if it wasn't for somebody holding on to their sources, certain stories wouldn't have been told, wouldn't have been found out, whether it's governmental, on a national or a state level, or even a municipal type level.
That is so true. There are just things that wouldn't be worth the time for people to even go to the media, because it would be blown apart. And so that is a journalist's number one job, is keeping their sources confidential and being able to detect what is important and what can wait and what is completely off the record. Because if your sources can't trust you, then you don't have any, how can I even say this? You just, you're not good at what you're doing, and you help give the media a bad name if you can't really keep that kind of confidentiality.
Absolutely. Now, let's start to move over to your book here. You have this book out called Famous Celebrity, or Hollywood Death Club, pardon me. And I'm going to assume that you're a big music buff and a big movie buff in order to look deeper into this story. So have you always been into music and movies?
Yeah, I have. And I've always read these stories, and I've always gone and read the biographies of different, actors and famous people. And I've always been really drawn to the ones these dark stories that end strangely, and the stories where you think there is something else really going on than what you're being told. So that's how I ended up. I thought, well, why don't I put a collection of them together? Because there's just so many that people don't know the details of. So I just started out.
What made you focus on that, though? Like, what was the story that intrigued you that said, you know what, there's a lot of weirdness that happens around Hollywood and especially musicians. And I think we expect it more from musicians because they live such a free-base lifestyle. But when it comes to Hollywood celebrities, they've had their mysteries as well. So was there a particular story that really set you off, that really made you feel that you need to start looking into this more?
Well, actually there was. It was the Manson murders. In college, I must have read every book in print about that case, about the trial, about everything. I don't even know how many books I read. And the more I read about those, the more I understood about how the different police agencies were not working together, and there's so many missed opportunities. And once I read all those, I just got more interested in what really goes on in these cases. And there's just such a disadvantage when everything the police are doing is public like this. You know, when there's a celebrity or there's a big musician involved, they're being scrutinized every step of the way. So that's why these cases are interesting to me, because they're done almost in the public eye.
Now, when you decided to go down this realm with the Manson murders and the way the case really left an impact on you, what was it about that case that really, really stood out to you regarding Charles Manson and the cult that he created?
Oh, that's such an easy one to answer. And I think a part of it is also why I wanted to put this book together, which is I never knew, just hearing the name and seeing the pictures of the trial and all that, I never knew that he didn't kill anyone. He was just the mastermind, and he had so much control, so much power over these people, even though he was tiny, like 5'3", that he got them to go out and murder strangers with no motive, just to go out and do it. And he, was tried and convicted of murder anyway. And so the details of stories like this fascinate me, because people will say, oh yeah, Charlie Manson, and, picture of a crazy guy with a wild hair. They don't even know the depth of what he did and how he controlled people. So that's what got me interested in reading all these books about it. And also that there was a celebrity element to it, but I felt so bad for all the other people. There are a lot of other victims in this. And people always just talk about the one actress. And it was a much, much deeper case than it was made out to be in the media. So that's what made me interested in it and want to look into more of these. Because
when you started deciding that this was a path that you wanted to go down, and you wanted to express your own journalism and do your own research on, how long of a project did you expect this to be? Oh,
do you mean the book, or just
in general? Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I really didn't. I didn't think that reading all these books and being fascinated with these cases would. I didn't think of it would be a career or anything. I just thought, oh, here's just a case I'm really interested in. And then I ended up being a police reporter, because I already felt like I knew how to cover a case or how to cover a crime, because I had read so much about it just in my free time. So when I started working at newspapers, I just gravitated toward that beat, because it just felt familiar to me, and it was familiar. So I'm glad I did all that reading in college, because it paid off. And it's always been, and as friends of mine in the business will also say, it's the only beat at the newspaper is covering. Nothing else can compare to it. You don't get stories like that when you cover education or, the water district or anything. It's just that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Did you know any Hollywood celebrities or musicians personally before going down this road? Did you have an opportunity to meet with anybody?
Oh, that's a good question. Not for this project, because this goes back even to the 1920s. So this is not anyone I've, met or met their friends of them or associates with them. I do know a lot of musicians, and hopefully I'm never writing about any of them. No one that has had anything terrible happen to them, but I've always been interested in music too. So
in regards to that, you didn't know anybody famous who had maybe you went to high school with or grew up with, who caught a break or has been on stage, performing all around the world musically or anything like that?
No, I don't think have that kind of connection. I was just really interested in the police angle and the way the media shaped the perception of that person and the way that people would remember it. And sometimes they will remember a detail that's not even true, and it gets associated with that person for eternity. And that it would just bug me. So in some ways, I feel like I put this book together to say, no, here's what happened. Here's what we know. And here are the things that people say might have happened. So that's always been another thing. I want to clear things up. I don't know why. Maybe for people like me who like true crime, then they just enjoy reading about these cases.
Well, I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that whatsoever in regards to it. And being a Hollywood fan, movie fan, and like I think most of us are, I'm more of a music guy than a movie person. To get me to sit down and watch a movie, I would sooner be at the dentist having my cavities filled than sit down and watch 90% of the movies that are out there. But that's just me. Live rock concert, I'm there. I'm so there. Anything we could throw the horns up to, I'm quite okay with that. But in regards to it, there are so many stories out there that have really made people scratch their heads, whether it's the death of Kurt Cobain or Marilyn Monroe or Natalie Wood, you name it. There's a lot of mystery that goes behind this. So as we start to get into your book here, which is called Hollywood Death Club, when you decided that you wanted to put this book together, what were you trying to accomplish?
What I was trying to accomplish was just to put out almost like a synopsis of what happened in each case, so that people who hear about, Natalie Wood, she drowned. That was it. And that's all that people know about it. I wanted to give them a little more of the background and say, for example, in that case, do you know that she owned a yacht and she was afraid of water all her life, and she had seen a fortune teller who told her to beware of water, and so she had this horrible fear of water, and she was on a boat and she was arguing with her husband, and Christopher Walken was on the boat, which is a detail that I just almost can't even handle. And I just want to show cases and put a little bit more out there to make people think maybe what I remember about that wasn't right, or maybe there was a lot more to it. And right. I found a lot more about these cases as I wrote about them.
Were you trying to maybe bring some humanity into it? Because let's face it, when somebody dies, from a journalistic point of view, whether it's in the newspaper, on television, or on radio, we don't do a very good job at humanizing the stories. That's what books are for. That's what authors are for. And when you decided to delve into these stories, was that one of your goals, was to humanize these people who may have lived a celebrity life, but in the end, they were just people?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. That's true. In a news story, you don't have the time or the space to humanize someone, but when in a book you just have more space, and you can get into a lot of people, especially the suicides, the drug overdoses. They're just, even you get down to Elvis, he was at a point in his life before he died where he was seen as a kind of a lounge act, and he was slipping from his peak. And you read about him in this context and they just seem, they're just like any of us. He was feeling embarrassed, and he wasn't doing well, and he was depressed. And a lot of these cases have that element in it. It's almost like they got to a low point, and rather than wait to rise up again, that was it, end of their life. And so I ended up, after researching these, feeling terrible for so many of these stars, these musicians. It's actually really sad, but I think it's interesting. I think every one of these cases is interesting.
We've got about 2.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Celeste Ward is our guest tonight. Hollywood Death Club is her book, can be found on Amazon. Celeste, I want to ask you in regards to this. I mean, when you get to that certain level of stardom, where you are an A-lister to all the parties. You go to every restaurant or bar. Everybody's buying you drinks, dinner. Everybody's offering you things, and you are seen as a deity to people. How many of these celebrities really enjoyed that part of the lifestyle and maybe took it too far or couldn't handle it and decided that was enough?
I think a lot of them, especially, it's sad to say, the comedians seem to have the most pain in their careers. And of course, yeah, like you said, if you're famous, you're on TV, you're a movie star, every time you turn around, someone's offering you something that is not good for you. And I think that a lot of the people that died accidentally, of course, they were just enjoying the perks of their stardom, and took it too far one night, and that was the end. And so many of these people didn't even reach 40, and it's, I don't know, especially you look at a case like John Belushi, and there's a bit about in the chapter about him, and again was another one who had 2 movie roles where he tried to be a little more serious, and they didn't do well. So again, there's someone who's nervous that their career has peaked. They're worried about their performance, that they've got drugs all around them. They've already got an addiction problem, and you have one bad night and it's over.
Well, you could say the same thing for Chris Farley as well. They were quite similar.
Yes. I'm working on the next volume of this, and I want to put something in there about Chris Farley, because he's like the Belushi of the next generation. It was just so quick, and it's terrible. It really is. Celeste, we got about 30 seconds here before we got to go to break, but I want to say that I'm very interested in talking about this, and we're going to get very, very deep in with Celeste Ward tonight, and this is an amazing book. I highly suggest you go pick it up. It is on Amazon.com. Hollywood Death Club is the name of it. What a great name. What an absolute great name for a book. We're going to get into it more coming up on Spaced Out Radio. While you're tuning into the break, do me a favor. Head over to spacedoutradio.com. Click on our store banner. Go shopping a little bit. T-shirts, hats, socks, towels. We got it for you, and you look good in our swag. It's a good way to support this show as well. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right around the corner.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to be broadcasting to you from the captain's chair of SOR headquarters right here in the frozen Canadian tundra. Tonight we are talking Hollywood death. Yes, Hollywood death. Why not? The Hollywood Death Club is written by Celeste Ward. It's her first book, and it's a collection and a collaboration of some of the weird, strange deaths that have happened to some of our favorite celebrities over the years. And it's such an intriguing topic. Celeste, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
In regards to this, how did you go about selecting the numerous celebrities that you wrote about in this book?
A lot of them were just ones that I had read so much about that I had to include them, like Sharon Tate or Marilyn Monroe or some of those. Other ones were friends of mine had said, hey, did you read about this person or that person? And there were ones I never even knew of before, from the 20s. I include something about Virginia Rapay in there, the Fatty Arbuckle case. And I never knew the details of that until I started researching it. So it was a little bit of cases I already knew of and ones that people tipped me off to, oh, you've got to write about this one. And I'm already starting to collect new cases I want to write about for volume 2. So yeah.
I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. I mean, it is a list of 40 different celebrities that you have chosen from over time. And like I said, they range from some of the biggest celebrities that are out there to some lesser knowns because of the time period that has left us. But one of the ones that has always interested me, and I don't know why it is, but this case has always made me feel a little bit weird ever since watching Man of the Moon, and that is about Andy Kaufman.
Yes. Definitely. That one, I think people are just fascinated with because he was so incredibly smart that you almost do want to believe that nothing happened to him and it was just a hoax and he's going to come back anytime, because that was his whole routine, was to pull one over on people. I mean, that's what his career was based on. So, here he's this comic that comes out of New York, and his whole routine is doing these characters that don't know what they're doing. And he took that, he ended up creating a character. He went on Saturday Night Live with it, the foreign man where he does this funny accent. And then they offered him the TV show Taxi, where he could recreate that character on there. And he was more about performance art really than comedy. And he would enjoy getting a rise out of people or doing outlandish things or, going off script. There are a lot of examples of him going off script. And so when you hear someone like that has something terrible happen and, the person is sick and they're dying, you almost don't believe it because it's the pattern of how he lived and how he based his career, on hoaxes and getting over on people. So there are books out there about this case. There, of course, there's a movie about the case, but there are people close to him that say he is still alive. And that is one everyone will say, oh, Elvis is still alive. Well, I don't know about that, but Andy Kaufman, I think a lot of people believe that he really didn't die.
You know what? So, there is a huge conspiracy about them. We're getting a little bit of feedback again from your side. I'm not sure if there's a speaker there or something, but with Andy Kaufman, there is that conspiracy out there that he is still alive and that, he is still out there performing. Maybe not under his name per se, because he did have a character called Tony Clifton that was a Las Vegas lounge singer who was very famous for abusing his audience. And there are people who believe that that's what he retreated into. Do you really think that he died, or do you think that maybe he just changed his life because everything to him was funny, even though if it wasn't funny to anybody else?
Yeah, I'm one of the people that really does believe that he just wanted to change things up. And that would not be out of character for him. Like you said, his lounge character was known to perform at clubs after Andy Kaufman was reported to have died. So I think he would get a huge kick out of that, out of, faking his own death and just taking a different direction. So I'm one of them. I believe it. I will not be surprised. There are even people that say he had an upper limit on this whole hoax, and it was 30 years. So he's due back. So I don't know. Could be.
Well, his relationship with Bob Zmuda has also been very, very intricate as well, because Zmuda has pretty much known the entire story. And the stupid part about it is Zmuda, out of anybody, is the one who will in one breath say, yeah, he's gone, but in the next breath he keeps giving people hope that Andy Kaufman is still alive.
Right. And that doesn't make any sense either. And yeah, you have to wonder why he's doing that, why he's keeping the interest alive. That's a mystery too. That's what makes that one really, really bizarre. In a book full of bizarre cases, that one even stands out. It's just so odd and just makes no sense.
No, I hear you in regards to that. Now, Andy Kaufman was said to have died of cancer in 1984. But in the meantime, the feud with Jerry the King Lawler, the wrestler, being the intergender champion of wrestling. This guy was just incredible.
He was, and that was his whole routine, was stirring people up and causing fake outrage. And again, he grew up as a fan of wrestling. And so it makes sense that he would kind of gravitate as a performance artist into getting into being a professional wrestler. And the rest of the world looked at him like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. But to him, I think it was just an extension of his art. Again, I don't know if what he was doing was a deliberate hoax or if he just enjoyed that sense of fooling people. I think that's really what he was about, was fooling people.
It's just very intriguing indeed in regards to it. He is just very, very intense with everything that he did. And it wouldn't be a surprise if he was actually doing this for himself in order to create this new character of Tony Clifton and living under that name. But why does this story of Andy Kaufman make your list?
Because of the controversy behind it, and because of his age. He was in his 30s when he died, or reportedly, and it's one that just people will not give up, and they just won't let it rest. And so I thought, I've got to include this one in here because it's so strange. How often do you have a comedian turned wrestler and all of a sudden, comes up with a deadly disease and is gone that fast? It's just got so many elements to it. It's almost a story that makes itself up. You just can. I don't know. It's just so bizarre. It makes itself up. It's crazy.
No worries. Oh, we got a phone ringing there. I will quickly mute that for you, so that way our audience. I don't know if you can hang that up or not. Now I'm curious who is on the phone. Are you there, Celeste? Did that disconnect us?
I'm back.
All right, not a problem. Not a problem. Was it pizza? Because we could use a pizza around here.
getting hungry. I kind of wish it was.
I'm always good for tacos.
Yeah, that sounds actually really good.
Yeah. See, the closest taco run for me is about 2.5 hours away.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's all right.
That's
all right.
I'm very spoiled being in California, so.
Yes. Well, I know my friend Mikey is making me drive down to 2.5 hours in a couple of weeks here. And
good.
I know he's listening right now, so I'm just going to say, Mike, you're buying tacos before we come back. You're buying tacos. Good. That's all I'm going to say.
I heard you were more of a burrito man, though.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I just love Mexican food.
Mexican food.
Yeah. I'm going to get you to turn your speaker down a little bit again because we are getting a lot of feedback on this end.
Okay.
I don't know why, but just seems to be working that way.
Is that better?
Yeah. So it's still a little bit there, but we can work with it. In regards to your book, let's get back to your book now. We just talked about Andy Kaufman before the pizza man called in. And in regards to your book, there's another big story in there, and you lead off the book, Hollywood Death Club, by talking about Natalie Wood. What about Natalie Wood, the famous actress, it makes this so special to be in your book? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, where did you go?
Oh, here I am.
You disappeared.
What we'll do during the break, just so you know, because we're only about 10 minutes from the break here. We'll manage through the break, and then we'll disconnect Skype and then reconnect it to try and get a cleaner cut into it. But nonetheless, when we get into it here, in regards to Natalie Wood, why did you choose to open up the book with her?
Because that case, again, it's one that just people will not let it rest because it's just so strange and it seems like it was a murder, and yet, no one was ever arrested, and it was just too convenient, and people were shocked when it happened, and reading more about it, I never knew she had a fear of water, which is terrifying, and that it could end up causing her death is spooky, and it's a really compelling story. And I don't think people know much more about her than she drowned. And there's a lot to it. There was so much going on at that time. She was with her husband, Robert Wagner, who not only was he married to her, but they had been married, been divorced, and remarried. So that relationship wasn't exactly perfect. And she was filming a movie at the time with Christopher Walken, who had just won an Oscar, and he was younger. He was 38 years old. And there was a lot of chemistry between the two of them on their set. So you have to wonder, okay, why was he on a weekend trip with a married couple, just the three of them? And they go out to dinner one night, and there's a lot of arguing heard, and next thing you know, someone is missing. So it's a very, very mysterious case, and I don't think the public has ever accepted the version of events that they were told. And Robert Wagner's still alive. He's in his 80s now, and no one's really satisfied with what he says about what happened that night. And to me, it's just, she's one of the best examples of this death club in Hollywood, and what happens to these people worth so much money, and they have enemies, and they do have people who wouldn't mind if they disappeared. And these kinds of things do happen when you're talking about that much money and that much power. Terrible things happen to people, and I think her case, I don't think will ever be really solved or figured out.
Why do you think somebody like Christopher Walken, who was there, never really said anything publicly about it?
Oh, because of his career, of course. I mean, he was already A-list. You know, he had an Oscar already for Deer Hunter, and his career was just absolutely taking off. He couldn't have something that devastating attached to his name. And, you know, if it was one of us in that situation, you can just tell he needed to separate himself as far away from that as he could. Even though he probably didn't have anything to do with it, you know, it could have absolutely ruined his life. And I don't think you want to hope that he's a good person, but he just could not have that attached to his name. In fact, a lot of people don't know he was on the boat that night, which, you know, given the kind of characters he plays, is really kind of frightening. But this was when he was much younger, and maybe he didn't have such an image, you know, this kind of scary older guy. But he was there, and, you know, only 2 of them came home from that trip. So
right.
That case has always been out there as one of them that was never really solved. So
what is the legitimate story or the media story behind that death of Natalie Wood?
The story that Robert Wagner always gives is that the couple was, I don't know if he ever says they were having an argument, but they went to dinner, they came home to the boat. This was their yacht that they owned named Splendor. They stayed up, they were drinking. I think Christopher Walken went to bed, and then he says, oh yeah, and then I went to, you know, whatever, smoke a cigarette. And when I got back to our bedroom, Natalie was gone. He says he looked around for her, didn't see her. And then much later, you know, he radios, we need help. And when they ended up finding her body, she was not too far from the yacht. So they surmised that maybe she tried to take off, you know, tried to get out and went into the little inflatable dinghy or slipped. And there you have again, she's afraid of water, and all her life she's leading up to a moment in water, and it's just such a strange case. And it was reopened in 2011, but again, nothing conclusive. There have been books about it. There have been all kinds of things, people examining this case.
Excellent. In regards to that, why would they reopen the case? As we got about 3 minutes left with you.
Oh, there was a book that came out from the captain who was on the boat that night, and he wanted to come out with his version of it. And so I think what was going on was they were looking at Robert Wagner again, and nothing really ever came of it. So for a while there was speculation that, oh, this is finally going to be resolved. And what is it? So it's 8 years later, and nothing conclusive came up. But the story was in the news a lot. And it just, again, it just kind of went away like it did the first time.
Robert Wagner obviously went on to have a heck of a career in acting. I mean, his biggest known role in probably the last 30 years was being number 2 on Austin Powers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right.
I mean, he was very successful with his life. Do you think that there is something sinister behind this case?
I'm sure of it. I mean, there's really no other explanation. I mean, no one else would want anything to happen to her. I mean, people said that they saw the group leaving a restaurant and they were arguing and they were loud and they'd been drinking. I mean, it looks pretty cut and dry. They probably had an argument. He either saw her trying to leave and didn't help, or maybe he fought with her and she went over. But they did find a lot of bruises on her body. It's so strange that he would never end up being charged with anything, because he either did something or he let something happen. So I don't know which is worse, but I don't know. you could be the judge on that one.
No, absolutely. Absolutely with that. So my big question to you in regards to this, do you think that this is a murder or do you think this is a tragic accident?
In this case, I think it's negligence. I think it is when someone stands back and watches someone do something completely dangerous and deadly and does nothing. And sometimes I don't even know which is worse, directly killing someone or allowing them to do it to themselves. But I just don't believe the version of events that he has always given. It just doesn't wash like a lot of these stories.
You mentioned as we go into the final minute here, there's a lot of stories out there that publicists and managers clean this stuff up. Do you think that's what was done here?
Oh, absolutely. Because this was, nowadays everyone's got a cell phone, everyone can take pictures, can record, and it was different. This was, I think it was early 80s for that one. And publicists and studios had so much more power in this kind of thing. They could just create a scene, they could create an explanation and kind of feed it to the media, and that was that. And so it was much, much easier to create a story back then than it is now, where we have cameras and everyone everywhere has a camera on them. That kind of thing. Right. Back then, it was publicists had a lot more control over people's lives and what the public got to know. And I think that's
very interesting. Celeste, I'm going to get you to hold on as we are going to take a break here on Spaced Out Radio, Hour 1 in the books, Hour 2 of Hollywood celebrity deaths. It's going to be an interesting story. We're going to get into some big-time deaths, weird deaths, strange deaths with Celeste Ward coming up on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure, the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today. The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is back with his Tales of Folklore Monsters. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to each and every one of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we are on live with Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have each and every one of you with us. Don't forget, you can subscribe to our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. They are free. Just do me a favor, hit that red button for subscribe. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Animology. Animology is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store while you're listening, because you definitely need one of our t-shirts or hats and so much more. And, of course, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, which is fantastic reading for you, and so much more. Tonight we are talking Hollywood Death Club. It is a mysterious crime series novel by author Celeste Ward, who is our guest tonight. We're talking about some of the weird and strange deaths that have happened throughout Hollywood and music history. Celeste, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, we have changed. We've gone to a phone line rather than Skype, so we're not getting any more feedback here. Celeste, there's also a change because I had said earlier in the show that you could go to Amazon, but there's a little bit of an issue with getting the book on Amazon, and I know a couple of our listeners have already tried on Amazon to pick this one up. Where can they find your book?
They can, if they want to order from me, that works fine. It's they can email me mysteriouscrimes919@gmail.com, and I can get the book sent out to them. It's $14.99 plus shipping. We expect to have the link on Amazon working hopefully by tomorrow. We just had a little last minute delay on that, but it should be working very soon. Otherwise, either way is fine, through me or through the link in the next few days.
Not a problem. Not a problem
Great.
whatsoever in regards to that. In your book, Hollywood Death Club, as we were going through a number of these, you have also looked into the 27 Club. The 27 Club, for people who do not know, are this weird amount of singers and musicians, very popular during their time, who all died for various different circumstances at the age of 27. We can look at Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain. What is about the age of 27 that seems to claim so many lives in music?
It just seems to be an age where a career that had got going in the early 20s is peaking, is reaching the top spot in the, their music career. And I think a lot of it, after that one summer in 1970, when the three died in a row, it was Jim Morrison, then I believe Janis Joplin after that, and then Jimi Hendrix. Then it became a stigma. An age became a stigma, and people actually worried about it. There were reports that Amy Winehouse was concerned she would die at 27, just because that was out there in the universe. And same thing with Kurt Cobain. He had told people that he was afraid he would die at 27. So it's kind of one of those questions that makes you wonder, is this just coincidence, or are people bringing this on? Is this an age where they feel they're vulnerable? Are they creating this just by, and there was also Brian Jones who died at 27. So it could be a combination of things, but once they have that in their consciousness, I think that affects people when they feel like they're more vulnerable at a certain time. Things will happen.
The majority of these people, who died at the age of 27 seem to have lost their lives to either drugs or alcohol abuse. Some were murdered, some were suicide, a couple of transportation-related accidents, but the most part, it was self-inflicted by drugs or alcohol. How many people that you know of or that you study up on actually died and are now connected to the 27 Club?
You mean in this book that I covered?
Yes.
Let's see. I think I have 3 or 4 of them in here. I didn't go that deep into 27 Club because in each of these stories there are just so many twists and turns. You know, once I started writing about Jimi Hendrix, there were so many things I didn't know that I could have written an entire book about him. So it was hard to stay on a topic that goes, that transcends through several different people when each one of these stories is another book. So from that point of view, I don't even have Janis Joplin in this one. I want to save that one for, volume 2. But there's just so much to each one of these that it's not, the end sure was probably an overdose. And in Jimi Hendrix's case, copious amounts of red wine in his hair and in his throat, and just there's so many strange details that it can just get you completely off track. But let's see, we were talking about 27. That seemed to be just a spate of them in a row that sparked this interest in the number 27 and what does it mean. And I think it was just so many happened so fast that that number just developed a stigma, and it's stuck. I know that there are more of them. That's maybe something I can look into for volume 2. The other people who have been added to 27 Club.
Well, the funny part about it is, and in my research of it, there's over 100 musicians and band members that have died at the age of 27. I mean, it's so bad sad because they are so young and so profound, and their music, whether it's in the case of the 60s and going into the early 70s, like Joplin, Hendrix, and Jim Morrison, or even the power of Kurt Cobain during the grunge rock era in the early 1990s. There is so much that kind of goes on with these powerhouses. Do you think that it was a different reasoning behind, the music, free life atmosphere of the 60s comparatively to those in, say, the last 20 years or so that have died as part of the 27 Club, where we're hearing a lot about depression, anxiety, mental illness?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's true. We do hear a lot more about mental illness now and about people's personal struggles with anxiety and traveling. Traveling cannot be understated when it comes to a musician. That's really, really hard on the body, and it really takes a toll. But I think you have a point, because in the 60s, there was so much drug use that was new, and there were so many things people didn't know, and so much experimentation that the overdoses were almost happening, and people were not prepared. This is a whole new lifestyle going on. From the 50s to the 60s, the whole culture did a 180. So I think that, we did see a lot more drug deaths, but now that we have more education about addiction and we know more, just a lot of people, not just famous people or not just, people who travel a lot suffer from addiction. So I think we have a lot more knowledge about it. So we address it in a different way. We'll talk about, Amy Winehouse was overworked, or she had alcohol dependency. Whereas when we refer to Jim Morrison, that people didn't really talk about those kind of things then. It was almost more glorified. He's this wild man, he gets arrested, he gets dragged off stage by the police, and it kind of added to his image. But now we tend to look at these musicians as more of a whole person, not just an image or just an idea of someone living some crazy, wild life. So I think there's more humanity to it now. And
In
also,
regards, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, just more education around things like addiction and mental health. It's more talked about. It's out in the open now. Is the difference.
But back in the 60s, and I'm a 70s child, so I missed the 60s. I was born in 73. In regards to that, I mean, we saw the introduction of LSD. We saw a real heavy introduction into drugs like heroin, where it was the ultimate high for a lot of people. And heroin today still continues to be a massive killer on the streets and around not only North America, but the world. And it's amazing how we just, as a society, haven't really learned about that yet, even though we know it's such an epidemic. But in the music industry, where everything was about expanding consciousness and the high that came along with that, you know, in the case of somebody like Jim Morrison, who was kind of professed to be a very spiritual Zen-like person, do you think he needed the drugs in order to make the song sound the way he did?
Oh, he probably felt that he needed them. He probably thought that added to his ability to express himself, to write lyrics, but I doubt that he really did. But at that time, I can see people believing that they need to live a certain lifestyle, they need to do certain drugs, they need to expand their minds in order to do their art. So maybe there was an acceptance of it in the arts community then that there really isn't now. You're right about us not learning our lesson about heroin. It's still killing so many people. But I don't think that, I think in the 60s things were so new that drugs like LSD and, you know, smoking peyote was not seen as a crime and a terrible thing to do to yourself. It was more new. So I think people are more forgiving too, or they were in the 60s than they are now when they see what drugs can really do.
Let's talk about Jim Morrison. Let's talk about his death, because it is the final chapter in your book, Hollywood Death Club. Why did you choose to end it with and I mean that with pun intended, why did you choose to end the book with Jim Morrison?
I think, again, he's another one that people are still fascinated with, and there are details at the end of his life that don't really add up. And his death, you know, it was understated for the level of notoriety he had and the fame that he had and the way he was seen as an artist. You know, for him, I go into the book, the last night of his life was pretty much an average day, you know, for like one of us, you know, like he went to the movies with his girlfriend, came home, and then they stayed up talking, and you know, he went to go take a bath. So it's not like he went out in this big blaze, but he kind of just slipped under in the bathtub, and that was it. And so the details afterwards are very strange. Like his girlfriend at the time, Pamela Corson, took, I think it was 5 or 6 days to tell anyone that he had died. And this was in Paris, so at the time there was no autopsy done, which in the U.S. there would have been, unless he had seen a doctor or you know, he had a terminal condition, they would do one to determine cause of death. So that never happened. And that and her delay and her drug use all contributed to the kind of a mystery at the end of this, like what really happened here. A lot of people, he's another one people will think that is still alive, still walking around among us. And he had that kind of personality where you could imagine him faking it, his own death, and changing his name and going somewhere else. So I thought he was a powerful figure, and so I wanted to end this volume with him, because there is a lot of mystery around him. There was when he was alive, so for him to just kind of slip under as he did was
apparently
a strange way to go.
At the time of his death, there were multiple paternity suits against him as well, although after he died, there was not a single suit or claim against his estate, which is kind of weird.
Oh, that's right. I had read that years ago, but I had forgotten that detail. That's right. And he did have his share of trouble in that sense. And I believe, I'm just remembering from years and years ago, that he did not have a will, and everything would have gone to his father. But I forgot about all the paternity suits. I wonder if that was just a regular, week in his life. You never know, because he was worth so much money that I'm sure anyone would kind of try their luck. And it is sad that nothing ever happened after he died with those.
Why do you think that people still believe that he is still walking the streets somewhere in Europe trying to, live a normal lifestyle? Because he was larger in life when he lived. But on the flip side, if you believe anything in the movie The Doors and the character Val Kilmer played, he was always searching for some Zen-like peace. So do you think it might have had something to do with his spirituality, that he just didn't want the limelight anymore?
It could be. Yeah, I can see that happening. I can see that him just wanting to check out of his career, his music, his not being in the spotlight anymore. I can imagine that, and I think with his personality, people would believe it. He seemed a little smarter, a little deeper than your average, singer. So that would make sense. And I think in a lot of these cases, like we talked about Andy Kaufman, and there's a chapter on Tupac in there, people really want to believe that they did not die. And it's a strange phenomenon, but I think it has to do with the age. They were just too young, and the circumstances. People need to believe that somehow they just didn't want to be famous, or they didn't want the hassle anymore, or they had some other plan. So
what about? Okay, let's go ahead. Sorry.
No. With Jim Morrison, I can imagine him just kind of slipping under the radar and living an anonymous life.
But there's also a controversy and a little bit of a conspiracy around Jimi Hendrix as well. And it's hard to believe with the impact that Jimi Hendrix had on the music scene, and up until today, it's hard to believe that he was only on the scene for 2.5 years. To create much memorable magic in 2.5 years, that's a lifetime for the majority of musicians out there.
It really is, and that's another topic that keeps coming up in this, is the wasted talent is just enormous, and it's sad. 2 years he made a huge impact, but along with that, again, come problems, because he was worth an enormous amount of money, and he was in a fight between two women, and he also had I believe it was a road manager who was in financial trouble, and got an idea that, well, maybe we're better off, maybe he'll make more as a dead guitarist. So we've got a cast of people around him that do not have his best interests in mind. I mean, there are some way out there theories on him. CIA members came to his house in the middle of the night, and that he was waterboarded with red wine. That's a pretty crazy one. But he definitely did not have people looking out for him. And who knows what his career would have been like. Ironically, he is from Seattle and went over and made his name in London. So we will never know, because his life ended so early.
Why do you think there were so many people? Why do you think there were so many people out there trying to direct him? Was he just a musician who was very naive to the entire basis of the business side of music?
It seems like it. It seems like he got a lot of bad direction for people. And it seems like he relied on his managers, girlfriends, whoever, to kind of just give him direction and he would follow it. He had people who definitely were selfish and out for what they could get from him. And even after he died, these battles in court continued between a woman who used to be his girlfriend and the woman who was his girlfriend at the time of his death. And her life ended tragically as well. And the girlfriend who was with him the night he died, she received death threats the rest of her life because people thought that she had something to do with it. So there's a lot of tragedy around a lot of these stories. They don't end just with the person, the musician or the actor. There's a lot of collateral damage in these stories because, again, there's a lot of money involved.
Celeste Ward is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her book is Hollywood Death Club. Celeste, one of the things that has been in question is the way Jimi Hendrix died. In your estimation, how did he die?
Well, there is a coroner's report that said he did asphyxiate as he was, getting sick, vomiting from ingesting too many sleeping pills and from alcohol, which, again, was red wine. And so it was just a simple overdose, but the amount of sleeping pills in his system was way over what someone would just take. And they belonged to his then girlfriend, and she was in a horrible fight with him that night, demanded he come home, and then she prepared some food for him. So did she put something in there? No one knows. Did he just decide to take a handful of pills rather than one or two? She had very, very strong sleeping pills. So I suppose no one will ever know, because she's not with us anymore either.
It's very, very weird. And, if you haven't been to Seattle's Jimi Hendrix music experience that the late Paul Allen had built, it's pretty phenomenal. Pretty phenomenal.
I would love to see that. Yeah, I would love to see that.
I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few years ago in Cleveland, Ohio. And I can tell you, one of my favorite songs ever is Voodoo Child. It is just an incredible song. And then you see this stained, crumpled up piece of paper that's been flattened out with the lyrics to Voodoo Child. And the power that just came off of that in the Jimi Hendrix portion of the Music Hall of Fame. It was phenomenal. Celeste, I'm going to get you to hold on here as we are going to hop out here for another break on Spaced Out Radio. Celeste Ward is our guest tonight. Hollywood Death Club, her book. That's what we are talking about tonight on the Mighty SOR. More weird, strange celebrity deaths right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is spaced out radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Remember, you can always head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, do a little shopping, because you would look good in one of our t-shirts, and I want a picture of it to put on our website. That's a fair trade. Show us how you SOR by going shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking strange, weird deaths of Hollywood actors and famous musicians. Celeste Ward is our guest tonight, author of Hollywood Death Club, a mysterious crime series, Part 1. And it's good to have Celeste with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Great to be here.
I am having so much fun talking about this because there is a lot of stars that you cover in this book. I want to get to Marilyn Monroe because Norma Jean was such an idol to so many people. Married to Joe DiMaggio, the affair with John F. Kennedy, the strangeness surrounding her death because many people felt that she had no reason to overdose and die. There's a lot of mystery surrounding. What did you learn about Marilyn Monroe?
Well, I had read a lot of books about her life before I did this, and I knew there were theories out there, and one of the interesting parts that I read about it was right after she was found, her body was found, they had a press conference, and one of the doctors was saying, basically writing off any kind of murder or any kind of conspiracy at all. He actually said this at a news conference, that she was frequently suicidal, that she would call people and beg for help, and basically what he was saying was, what happened is she just didn't get rescued this time. So I thought that was a really, really strange thing for someone to announce, to the public. Normally they would be a little bit more sensitive about that kind of thing, but it was very cut and dry, saying she's known to, I forget the word he used, it was not unstable, but that's basically what he said. She was just very, she had they didn't call it mental health issues then, but it was a strange way to explain it because I think right after she died, the theories had not started yet, and for her to just overdose when she's supposedly having an affair with the sitting president, and his brother, and she knows things. I was reading about how she kept a journal, and she would write things down, and JFK knew about this and didn't like that idea. Well, you don't want to be someone who has, information that a president wants to keep quiet. She definitely had connections, and she had things she could ruin political careers with if she really was having an affair with both JFK and his brother at the same time. So for her to just whoops overdose is a little too convenient. And especially if that night she was in the care of her housekeeper to ostensibly keep an eye on her for the night. And that was a huge fail because, there she was and simply wouldn't open the door for the housekeeper to make sure she was all right. So it's just a very, very weird case. And fascinates people. There are more than 200 books written about Marilyn Monroe's life and death. And she had a very short life. But 3 husbands, and she really had her ups and downs with her movie career. She was making huge movies at one point, and then towards the end of her life was reportedly doing a lot of drugs, taking sleeping pills and then doing uppers to be awake, and then flaking out, not showing up to work. And one of the last movies she was on, she was fired from. And her marriage to Arthur Miller completely crumbled, supposedly due to drug use. So she had a really turbulent life and a short life. But it's something about her, just people cannot let go of her image. And I think it was because she made herself, she exposed to the world that she was insecure and she was vulnerable, and people appreciated that about her. She didn't try to put on the I'm perfect, look at my life, like we see people on Instagram trying to create a false person. I think people related to her because she seemed human, and she could hurt, and people could sense that about her. And I think that's why people are still so fascinated with her. Her estate makes huge amounts of money every year just licensing her image. A lot of these people, Michael Jackson, of course, makes the most, but for someone who died so long ago, she just absolutely enthralls people still. So it's a very interesting case, and very sad.
Very sad, because for as popular as she was, she really seemed to have a lonely life, never seemed to get to where she needed to go, even though she had the world as her oyster.
Right. It's almost as though she didn't know that. It was like she wasn't in on it. People thought she had everything. She had the beauty, she had the acting, she was a movie star. She had everything you could want, living in California, in this beautiful place. And if having everything that you want doesn't make you happy, then what does? And she had a difficult childhood. Her mother was mentally ill, and she lived in an orphanage for a time. So she had a rough time growing up, and maybe was just one of those people that could never really be confident on her own. It's just a sad story that continues to fascinate people. I'm sure there'll be 200 more books written about her, in the next few years. And no other actress really captivates people that way. There's another chapter in my book on Jane Mansfield, another one who died in her early 30s. But no one has that ability to relate to audiences the way that Marilyn did. And I think that's really what people mourn when they, talk about this and her image and how much they loved her and everything. She was relatable, even though she was a huge famous movie star. She was just relatable. So. And
57 years after her death, there are people who still think she's still one of the most beautiful people to ever walk this planet.
Right. It's as though she's just immortalized at 34, 32. She never ages. And so you're right. And her looks can't even compare to, the beauties of through the decades. She still stands out, which is amazing because, beauty standards change, through the years, and the 70s is a lot different than the 90s and everything, but she still stands out. And she's another one with just such a waste of talent. You never know what the careers of these people would have been like had they lived, to a normal age. And that's also part of the mystique, their life is cut short, and we can only imagine what they could have accomplished. And someone like James Dean, the same thing. He only did 3 movies, and he is forever 24 years old. And same thing with Marilyn. It's just a wasted talent. it's a shame.
I never thought about it that way, that they're frozen in time because of the age that they died at.
Mm-hmm. Of course, they never age, and so people can think of them as they remain these idols because they don't go through, the aging process, and they don't have career failures, and they're just immortalized as this successful idea of what is everything you could want, and they remain there. It is a strange way to think about it, but that's, I think, why people still are interested in what happened, and they don't want to believe the story that was given to them. They don't want to believe that someone like her, like Marilyn, could just kind of slip away from a drug overdose. It had to be something bigger. That's what fuels all these ideas. No, are you kidding? She was having an affair with the president. It had to be something bigger. Someone had to want her gone. And I think our minds won't let us believe it.
And the stories grow and grow, because one of the fascinating conspiracies I hear about Marilyn being in the field of ufology is that she had an interest in UFOs, and as did JFK, and that she was about to expose something to do with UFOs, and that's why the government took her out. I mean, that's how ridiculous some of these theories have got with this.
Oh, the UFO theory I have read about. Also, that she was murdered by the mafia as a statement, as a threat to President Kennedy, or that she was murdered as a threat to his brother. The theories have been really, really out there, and I think they are in proportion to the place in people's minds with the value of this person. They just cannot comprehend that it was something that mundane that ended a life like that. And so the theories just grow. And like you said, was it 57 years? Yeah.
Yeah,
people
57
are still
years.
Interested. I know. And people who weren't even alive when she was famous, and she still continues to just resonate with people.
And in the reality is, she was a drug addict. She was a party girl, and she was a drug addict.
She was, and at that time, that was something. It wasn't even really frowned upon, because that's what studios did. They created people, more or less. They look at Judy Garland. They put them on uppers, on downers, on weight loss pills. That's just how they managed their schedules. But when it comes down to it, she was just lonely, frightened, and on drugs. And it doesn't sound it's just tragic when you look at it that way.
It really is. Celeste Ward is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Hollywood Death Club is her book. I highly suggest you go pick it on up. We've got about 8 minutes here before we got to go to break. I want to get to another one of our celebrities here, because, I mean, some of them that you write about are pretty awesome, and the strangeness that goes along with it. And I'm very curious, because Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee both had real tragic type deaths that just didn't seem to make sense for the persona that they covered. Were you able to tie anything in between the two?
In between the two, there always was, and I didn't know this. Bruce Lee believed that there was a Lee family curse, only on the males of the family, which I didn't know. That really is the only thing that would explain those two deaths. Now, there is another chapter in the book about David Carradine, looking into an underground kind of martial arts society that he was about to expose, some people say. And those same theories were swirling around Bruce Lee at the time of his death, because he's another one who built a career on his physical strength, his prowess, and he was very young too, and he was having seizures. And for him to have all that strength and be in such great shape. For him taking, it was some kind of an aspirin or a painkiller. And for that to end his life just does not make sense. It just doesn't wash. And you couple that with his son having a freak accident on the set of a movie, and there you have both father and son dying these untimely deaths. No real explanation. It starts to sound like something else is going on. Someone doesn't want them here, or who knows about if there is a family curse. But it's just too coincidental. Very, very strange.
Now, with Bruce Lee, I mean, the way he was able to control his mind, his sight, his thoughts, his body, I mean, this guy was superhuman, if ever there was. Take us through his passing.
Well, that was the strange thing. He was filming a movie in Hong Kong at the time, and he was having problems with having seizures, and he fainted at one point. And he was taken to the hospital there, and he was told his condition was pretty serious. And being Bruce Lee, he kind of blew it off, went back to filming. And when there was a part where he was staying with his manager and an actress, and they were having a day where they just sit and read through a script, and it was, an average kind of a day, and he started having some headaches, and he asked the actress in the film, for some, I don't remember exactly what it was like Tylenol or aspirin, something very innocuous, and she gave him some. He went to lay down, and a few hours later, he doesn't show up for dinner. And the actress, of course, is in a huge panic. There's Bruce Lee, and she can't wake him up in her house. So she calls the manager. They get to the house, and he could not be revived. And that was that. So it's very strange. Like you said, his physical, the amount of control he had over his body, he was like a perfect specimen. You would think he couldn't be taken out by something like an over-the-counter headache medicine. It just doesn't.
There is a rumor, Celeste, that he was drugged, that there was something else put in there.
Yes.
Do you buy that?
I think it's completely within the realm of possibility. I really do. With him, there again, maybe it is in proportion to the kind of power he was perceived to have, but there are mafia theories. There are that people wanted him dead. Who knows if the actress was in on it? I would believe it. It just seems too strange for him to die that way with no, it wasn't like they revived him, got him to the hospital, and he was close, and then he went. He was gone. So I would believe it.
And then with his son Brandon,
possible.
With his son Brandon, he also had a weird tragedy on a movie set as well.
He did, and he was filming The Crow, which was a huge movie. Came out, I believe, 94. So in 93, he's filming this movie, and he, in his career, he was kind of being known as his father's son. He was doing martial arts action movies, and he was trying to branch out so he didn't get typecast. And so he's doing this really highly anticipated movie, and there's a scene where he gets shot in the movie. To go back, it's based on the movie. The Crow is based on the comic book, of course, and it's based on a man who gets killed the night before his wedding, and he resurrects to take his revenge. And so in this scene, he's supposed to be shot and then get up and keep going. And there was a very strange situation with the prop gun, in that there was something to do with the prop bullets, or something was lodged incorrectly in the gun. So when the actor, poor guy, when he used the prop gun to shoot him, he Brandon Lee was actually hit and taken down, and they were able to get him to the hospital, but he had lost too much blood. And so that's the kind of thing that's just, it's a freak accident. But
very strange.
They obviously, very, very strange. And the movie ended up, of course, being finished and being put out, but just too odd. You know, father and son to both go so young, and such
and so
weird
talented.
circumstances, both of them. Exactly. Yeah. You have to wonder, was someone jealous of that? What else was going on with them? Why would that happen in the same family? And they're buried next to each other. It's a really tragic story.
Do you think that there was some sort of curse there?
I think a curse is something that you give power if you believe it. So just the idea that Bruce Lee talked about it and was conscious of it, he could make that happen. You know, I don't know I think it came from his mother or grandmother. I think he got that idea for, but it certainly, you know, when you die young and then your son dies young, it certainly looks like a curse to me. I don't know much about curses, but that looks like what you've got. It's terrible, you know.
It really is. Celeste, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we are about to head to break here at the top of the hour. Celeste Ward is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking about her book, Hollywood Death Club, a mysterious crimes series. It's only part one. We got a lot more to go here on Spaced Out Radio. So you have some fun. Well, during the break, while you're listening into our ads, make sure you do me a favor. Head on over to spacedoutradio.com. Head to our store. Do a little shopping for yourself, because you would look good in one of our T-shirts or hats or beanies or hoodies. Lots for you at spacedoutradio.com. Go check it out. We'll be back with the third hour of SOR right after this.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the program, the Crypto Guru returns. Ronald Murphy is back with a bunch of folklore and monster tales. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates in Reedsport, Oregon, KDUN AM 1030, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead, and of course, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to every one of you listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Animology. Animology is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping right now at our Spaced Out Radio store while you're listening on in. And, of course, read up on our SOR Newswire put together by our news director, Captain Shirk, and so much more. Tonight, we are talking about this great book called Hollywood Death Club. Author Celeste Ward is with us tonight, and she has compiled a list of strange and weird deaths surrounding Hollywood movie stars and musicians. Celeste, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's been amazing.
It's been a lot of fun so far. Now, we do have some questions from our audience here, and we try and get them in, and I've been so enthralled with this. I feel bad because I've actually put them off a little bit. Renee is asking, and Renee's down in New Zealand, and she is asking, do you have any information or have you looked into the case of Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia?
Oh, I know a lot about that case, but I didn't put it in this because I was thinking that people have already read so much about it. I mean, that one is very, very famous. But that is a possibility for volume 2, because that is another case that just captivates people's minds. That you're familiar with that, are you not?
Yes.
The woman who, that is a gruesome case at a time when that kind of violence was not very common. So that is a great idea. I think you'll have to stay tuned for the next volume for that one.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have another question coming from, let me see here, I believe it's Sharon in Arkansas. She is saying, what's your opinion on Marilyn Monroe, considering the overdose that she had with all of those pills that she allegedly took and not having any water in her room with the door locked?
Ooh, that's really good. I really don't think that, I don't believe the theories. There are some out there that say, that RFK landed in a helicopter and came to the house and did it himself. I don't believe things go that far, but I definitely believe she was targeted. And I believe if it had anything to do with the president, that he had the full cooperation of the local authorities, of course. And it's definitely suspect that a press conference would be held so soon that would describe her as suicidal and always giving out these calls for help. It seems a little too neatly tied up. That's a great detail, though, about no water. And I believe another detail is she was found holding the phone. So it almost looks like a stage crime scene, you know, when someone will ransack a house to make it look like there was a robbery. It's just a little too perfect, you know. If you overdose, do you really have the phone in your hand? I don't know. It's very fishy.
Gail is wondering if you ever looked into the case of William Desmond Taylor, who created and directed 59 silent films between 1914 and 1922 before his murder, and apparently this caused a huge Hollywood scandal.
This one is not in this book, but I have read about him. That's another great idea for Volume 2. There were a lot of these scandals during the silent film era that I don't think are talked about as much. I have a couple in the book. Like I was saying, Virginia Rapé, the Fatty Arbuckle case was another one. But things happened back then that were absolutely scandalous for their time. So that is a great idea. Maybe I'm going to have more than 2 volumes. Maybe I'll have to make it an entire series because there's just so many inexplicable cases out there.
What about Tupac Shakur? Do you believe he's still alive?
I'm one of the people that I don't believe it. I really don't. But I definitely believe that there's a bit of an inside job to all that, you know, the East Coast, West Coast rap feud, you know, and that's very convenient for publicity and for selling records and everything. But there are people who do believe that a musician sells more and is more profitable once they're gone. And so I'm one of the people that really thinks that someone saw that in him and may have orchestrated the entire thing. And I don't think he's walking around anywhere. Wasn't he shot like 5 times before and he lived? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
yeah, you know, he was tough, right?
Yeah, but there was also a lot to do with the fact his relationship with Suge Knight, that he wanted to leave Suge, but because of the contractual obligations that Suge Knight wanted 3 more albums before he would release him from Death Row Records. And a good friend of this show, Ian Holt, knows this entire story because he was involved with MTV Raps back in the day, and we had him on talking about this program and this weird shooting, and that's why a lot of people suspect in the conspiracy, because Suge Knight, and even late last year, Suge Knight's Jr. went on Twitter basically saying that Tupac was alive living in Indonesia.
Good God. Well,
yeah.
I think that would, obviously he would have a reason to say that, right? Because that would take any kind of speculation off his dad. I mean, in terms of living people, I think Suge Knight is probably in the top 3 most terrifying human beings alive. And I don't know, maybe it would benefit him to have people believe that Tupac was still with us. But I think he was set up, definitely, by who I don't know, but I don't think he's still around. I think he was.
Yeah.
I don't think. I don't know. It's just a hunch.
I don't know. I'm still up in the air on that one. Ian thinks he's dead. I'm still a little bit up in the air because I like a good conspiracy every now and again, and sometimes I just want to believe.
Yeah, I understand you on that one too.
Exactly.
Like we talked about earlier, the Andy Kaufman one. I want to believe that was a hoax. I really do, because that would be a great one.
All do. Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. Speaking of Tupac, you can't mention Tupac's death without mentioning Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, who was murdered weeks before that, and they believe that Tupac Shakur had something to do with that. What makes that death so strange?
What makes his death strange is, I don't know, that one, I believe, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but he was kind of left out there in terms of where he was in the car. He wasn't guarded heavily enough, and there's a lot of speculation that that somebody wanted him dead from inside his own group, and so they left him vulnerable in that sense. He definitely, for his age, he was very young when he died, and he was still at the top of his career. It was really, really a huge loss for music when he died. And this whole West Coast, East Coast rap war thing was in full throttle at the time. And so it just lends itself to this kind of speculation. Like, this is a real war. They're really going to kill each other in revenge. And you tied into Tupac, and then there you go. And
it is so strange.
It is strange. You look at, well, I don't know what he calls himself lately, but Puff Daddy's career, it just skyrocketed after that, right? After Notorious B.I.G. was gone, and he was, who knows, a lot of people would have reason to want him gone. And you never know.
Why would they want him gone?
Because look at these artists who sell more once they're dead. You never, when you die at the top of your career like that, you never risk, fading out, losing sales, you don't have that slump ever. You become iconic. You become an estate that makes people millions and millions. Michael Jackson is making huge amounts of money, his estate still. So he will never have that career slump. It's just a guaranteed moneymaker. And
very interesting.
Who knows? In that business, greed is rampant, and talent is sometimes seen as expendable. So,
I never looked.
Not to be cynical or anything. That's terrible.
No, but I mean, it makes sense though. It completely makes sense. So, I mean, when you're out on the top of your game, that's how people remember you. They don't remember you getting old and dying at 90 or 80 or of cancer or a heart attack or a car accident. They don't remember that. But when you're at the top of your game, they do.
Right, and you're suddenly gone, and that makes everything that you're associated with more valuable, right, and collectible, and suddenly just your name is a moneymaker. You don't have to manage a human being, and a human being has ups and downs and problems, but a brand, a name, doesn't need to be managed. It's just a money-making machine. So now I'm starting to freak myself out. Sorry.
Well, you've brought up Michael Jackson a couple of times. Let's get into the King of Rock, or the King of Pop, pardon me. And what I remember the most about his tragic death was his last words, which were, "More milk, please."
There's a detail I didn't remember. More milk, please, huh? He was on so many heavy, heavy drugs. What do you think that "more milk, please" meant?
Well, allegedly, the doctor who was prescribing him all of these pain medications concocted them into a glass of milk. So when Michael had the glass of milk, he would feel better. But I mean, learning the amount of narcotics that Michael was on previous to his death, I mean, it's amazing he didn't go sooner.
I know, it's mind-boggling. I mean, he was receiving like hospital-grade kind of anesthesia-type drugs at home. And the poor guy, and towards the end, you remember he was getting ready to promote that huge tour based out of UK. And he had told his daughter, "I'm afraid for my life. They're coming after me." I don't know who they were, but he had made statements like that. And if you remember, he was burned in shooting a Pepsi commercial.
Yes.
In the 80s. And a lot from what I've read said, that's when he developed this drug habit. Well, I don't know about that. That's a little too easily, neatly tied up. I'm sure that caused him a lot of pain and a lot of anguish, but it sounds like he was one of those people like Whitney Houston, I should have had her in this, maybe next one, but didn't have enough people in his life to say, no, don't do that. That's ridiculous. That's a bad idea. He had so much money that he could just replace people when they contradicted him or, try to guide him, really. He's a very tragic figure.
Yeah, I mean, he never really fell from grace, but I mean, when you look about it, I mean, everybody knows about the tragedy of the family situation where the father was like a drill sergeant to all of the boys, and they were made to be famous. Some of them didn't want the spotlight, but they didn't have a choice. I mean, it just seemed, very calculated that when Michael finally pulled away to try and live his own life, that he just surrounded himself with people who were, taking advantage of him.
Right, exactly, because he always had that need for a childhood, because he, like you said, he was raised by a drill sergeant, a fame seeker who worked his kids as, like little robots. Like, he just wanted them to be famous so bad. And he was always, it seems like Michael Jackson was always seeking like an easy life, just a simple kind of existence that he never had growing up. And yeah, he definitely lived a strange life and died a strange death. Again, lots and lots of books written about him, lots of theories, just a tragedy.
What about Princess Diana? Sorry, go ahead.
Princess
go
Diana.
Ahead.
No, I was going to say about Conrad Murray. His doctor was eventually was charged, but I don't think that satisfied the public. Because. No. It's easy to imagine, of course, he's Michael Jackson. He can have a doctor on the payroll, no problem, but it really didn't explain it away. It didn't take away the fact that someone like that was gone. And I believe he was only 50.
He was very young still. Very young.
He was young. Yeah.
We only got about 5.5 minutes left with you tonight, and I want to get into Princess Diana, because there is still a lot of controversy around her death going back to 1997. And I think that's one of those where were you moments that you remember. Like, I've never been one of those where you were moments, but I could tell you right now, I was in the summertime of college, working at a sports bar, slinging music, and then it came across the news that she had tragically died in that automotive accident. But then you start to learn that their driver was intoxicated, that they were being followed by paparazzi, and it was just absolute tragedy. So take us through that.
Mm-hmm. That you're right. That's absolutely one of those frozen in time moments when we heard about that, because she was only 36 years old and had gone through so much public just scrutiny, and through the divorce from Prince Charles, that she'd finally start to come out on her own. And that was when she was dating the heir to the Herods.
Dodi Al-Fayed.
Dodi. Right. And she was dating him and traveling with him in Paris, and some people saying that the Queen was not happy with her, out and about being photographed and not living a life that, I don't know, the Queen would approve of still, even as an ex-member of the family. But we know all the reports. They were leaving a restaurant. They were coming down through a tunnel in Paris, and there were supposedly paparazzi harassing them on like scooters, motorbikes, trying to get all around the car. And this driver was speeding in a tunnel, never recommended, and later was found out was also drinking, and just crashed trying to get away from these photographers. And so for a long time, that angle was always talked about. The paparazzi hounding people, it's criminal. They do have the right to do that in public, but at what cost? So they were really blamed for it, when in all actuality, if you look at what happened after her death, Prince Charles was free to marry, and that made it very easy for him to marry his former girlfriend, Camilla. And it's just, I don't think the public has ever forgiven the royal family for Diana. I think they somehow believe that they were at fault. They did something. They wanted that to happen. It's just horrible, especially for their two boys. But 36 years old is way too young.
I agree.
Yeah.
Way too young.
Just something very young and under strange circumstances, dating someone that the Queen would not approve of and living her life how she wanted to, which was having freedom and going where she wanted to, and which was nothing like she had when she was a member of the royal family. She had a tough time.
Well, she is and was one of the greatest humanitarians ever on this planet.
Absolutely.
She was a special, special person when it came down to it. Do you think that Al-Fayed's heritage had anything to do with the fact that the Queen didn't approve of him? Because there was also rumors that they had become pregnant. That has never been confirmed, but those rumors were out there.
Oh, I can see that being a huge, huge problem for the Queen. Diana was already seen as kind of a rogue in that family. And of course, his heritage would be a huge, huge issue because everything reflected on the royal family. And she was not able to be controlled once she was divorced from Charles. But she was still in the newspapers every single day. She was still being covered 24/7. She couldn't go to the gym without being photographed. And so she was a thorn in the Queen's side. Everything she did was covered. I think at one time they called her the most photographed woman in the world. She just could not get away from it. So yeah, I believe heritage would play a role in that. I also believe she was so beloved in a way that Charles certainly wasn't.
True
and that the Queen wasn't. She had the people on her side, and I don't think that was definitely not convenient for the royal family. And
Celeste, I got to cut you off there because we're going to be out of here in about 1 minute, my friend. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure to get to talk to you. Tell everybody where they could find Hollywood Death Club.
It will be up on Amazon, hopefully by tomorrow, but you can also email me at mysteriouscrimes919@gmail.com, and I can send copies out. It's $14.99 plus shipping, and hopefully the Amazon link will be working soon. But I so appreciate this opportunity. It's been an amazing time. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. And
me too.
I really, really am grateful. Thank you.
Well, when you have Volume 2 come out, we're going to bring you back. Thank you so much, Celeste. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we have Olaf Phillips and the SOR Newswire. We'll be back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Kaufman, Ron, Bumblefoot, THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters up here in the frozen tundra of British Columbia. Good to have you with us. And at this time of the night, we finish things off strong with the SOR Newswire, where we get into the weird, the wacky, the WTF in the news of the day. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire, provided on our website, spacedoutradio.com. If you click on the news tab, Captain Shirk has you all up to date with the weird, the wacky, and the strange news, and broadcasting the news tonight from paranoiamagazine.com, Mr. Olaf Phillips. Olaf, how you doing, buddy?
Greetings and salutations, Dave. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Very good to have you here. You know, I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to give you big-time credit because Celeste Ward, you came up to me a few weeks ago, and you're like, dude, you got to have Celeste on the show. You have to.
Yes, I did.
About her book, Hollywood Death Club. And I got to tell you, what a fun interview that was. What a fun interview. She was a little nervous because this was her first time doing a radio interview about her book. She was a little nervous, but I thought she handled herself pretty darn good, and it was a lot of fun with a fun topic.
She did a great job, and, you know, I'll tell you, the first time you ever do a radio show, it's terrifying. And, you know, everybody gives you advice, and they tell you this or that or this or that. But the truth is you got to just kind of muscle through it. And if you can do a good job on the first one, you know, pretty good job, then, you know, you're made in the shade.
Absolutely.
I was on the first time I was ever on a show. I was a wreck. I was such a wreck.
Well, you try and get out so much information, and then you think you're talking too much, and then you're like, oh, I better shut up.
Well, it's not just that you're excited. You're so excited.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, somebody wants to hear what you have to say. You know, I have a friend, right, Mr. Lobo, and he has this great show called Cinema Insomnia, OSI 74 on Roku. He told me once, whether you're doing a podcast or you're doing a radio show or you write a book, he said, for every person that listens to you, pretend they're in your house. And I actually told Celeste this. Pretend that they're in your house. So let's say that you get 50 people that listen to you, right? Pretend there are 50 people in your house that are actively listening to what you have to say. He said it really changes your perspective on the numbers of people that are listening. He said, you know, if you have 1,000, picture 1,000 people in your house hanging on your every word. And I even to this day, I still use that advice because it really changes the dynamic of how you think about things and how you feel about, when you do a show. So
it is a lot of fun, and thank you so much for recommending her. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I really did, and I can't wait to bring her back on for Volume 2.
All right. All
right. And you're publishing her book, so make sure she gets it done so we can get her back on. But nonetheless, we got to get to the news of the night, my friend. What do you got for us?
Jet ski launch ends with Porsche in the water. Now, we've done a few of these, and I particularly enjoy when people try to launch their boats and they don't know what they're doing, and it sucks their very expensive cars into the ocean. And an Australian boat instruction business shared a cautionary video showing the aftermath of a failed launch that ended with a Porsche in the water. The Perth Boat School posted a video showing what happened when the Porsche Cayenne attempted to launch a jet ski at the Woodman Point Pier in Perth. The sports car ended up being pulled into the water with the jet ski, leaving it half submerged. The boat school said the video seemed like a good time to say that we also train people on how to launch boats. So somebody decided to sink their car launching a jet ski.
That's just terrible. I mean,
It's
why
awful.
would you put a Porsche near a jet ski or have a Porsche towing the jet ski? Was it a Carrera or one of those
Cayenne.
the Cayenne? Yeah. Now I can see why. So now you're really showing off. You're really showing off.
I'll tell you something. I'm not a rich man, but if I had a jet ski, I'd go buy an old truck, and I'd launch it with the old truck. I wouldn't use the Porsche.
No. I agree. Too bad. The insurance company is not going to like that waterlogged vehicle look. They're not going to like that.
Not
they
at all.
never do. Let's get to story number 2.
Daredevil skier propelled by paramotor. A California skier managed to pick up some extra speed using an unusual method of propulsion, a repurposed paramotor. A video captured in snowy Truckee shows a man wearing skis and a propeller cage from a paramotor rig strapped to his back. The engine is started and the man takes off at an increasingly high speed. Turning the paramotor into a ski motor, ended up riding about 20 miles that day, the man wrote. And I'll tell you, when you actually watch it, if you think about being the guy on the skis, it's pretty frightening.
That would be frightening, especially if you don't know what you're doing or don't have much control over it.
Agreed. I watched it. I watched it. I was like, WTF? Who in their right mind does something like that? Although, can I share with you a small story real quick?
Sure.
So a long time ago, I went to, because you had Jeremy Kenyon on about the Bob Lazar movie.
Yes.
When I was in college, I got invited by Bob Lazar to go to a thing called Desert Blast. And it was basically a party in the desert. And they blew stuff up and had fireworks and all kinds of misadventures. One of the craziest things that I saw is a rocket backpack that Bob had built. And there was a guy riding around on a mountain bike with a rocket motor on his back. In the desert.
I just wouldn't do that. It just seems like it could go so wrong. Wrong.
When I saw the paramotor on the ski guy, that really reminded me of this, watching this dude with this rocket engine at full power riding through the desert. And I mean the nozzle on the rocket engine is like lighting up red. I just doesn't seem like a smart thing to do.
No. I mean, what if it explodes? What if you catch on fire? I mean, these are the what ifs that go through my mind, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm risk adverse. I'm not going to do that. It's like why I don't hang glide. I'm just not going to do that. I don't need that thrill.
Good buddy of mine, George. He jumps off of perfectly good mountains doing that paragliding thing.
No.
And I'm just like, no. He's like, come on. He goes, I'll take you up. We'll go. And I'm like, no. I said, I can't. No, that's wrong.
It's like parachuting. Why would I jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
Exactly. Although I can say that I would like to try the bungee jumping. I would like to try that. That seems like it would be fun.
No, that's okay.
I would do.
You let me know how that goes. You let me know how that goes.
Well,
okay.
I haven't yet. But I'll tell you one thing, though. I made a promise to my daughter. If I'm blessed enough to live to 90 years old, at 90 years old, I will jump out of an airplane. Because at 90 years old, it doesn't matter at that point. You know what I'm saying? You had a good run. And, I'll be 46 this year, so that's 44 years to go. And if all of a sudden that chute doesn't open and you go splat, because you're going to be in a tandem, it doesn't matter. You had a good run. You're not missing out on things at that point. So 90 years old, that's the goal. If I'm lucky enough to make it to 90, I'll jump out of an airplane.
All right. You let me know how that goes.
All right.
I'll be 87. You give me a jingle.
All right. Let's move on to the next one, my friend.
So we did a story like this previously, but apparently it's happened again.
Uh-oh.
A Florida man was caught licking a doorbell on camera. Lake Worth, Florida. A Florida man has been caught on camera licking a homeowner's doorbell. Video shows the man, who is wearing a Miami Hurricane shirt, standing outside the home before leaning in to lick the doorbell several times. He then steps back and starts gesturing to what appears to be a stack of flyers or newspapers. The man is then seen starting to walk away before returning to lick the doorbell again. The incident took place at a home in Lake Worth, Florida. The homeowner said they know the man. He asked my husband for cigarettes a few times, and now he is coming around way too much. This is the last straw. I've notified the police, they wrote. It is unclear why the man was licking the doorbell or if he will face any charges. It's becoming an epidemic.
This is becoming pandemic, doorbell licking. Can we not think of cleaner things to lick? I would lick a tree before a doorbell.
Oh, I know. It's just gross.
I would lick grass. Honestly.
It's gross.
It's totally gross. I don't understand this. I don't understand this whatsoever.
It's becoming an epidemic.
It's terrible.
It's becoming an epidemic. I'm concerned.
What kind of drug do you have to be on to get so wasted that you think licking a doorbell is a good idea?
Crocodile?
I don't even know what crocodile is.
Oh, if you don't know what crocodile is, man, you got to go do some Googling.
Oh, well.
Basically, yeah, it's when you're, I think it's heroin, when you're like a heroin junkie and you can't afford it anymore, so you mix the heroin with gasoline or diesel fuel, or kerosene, and then you inject it, and then at the injection site, your skin starts to turn like an alligator. That's why they call it crocodile. It's Russian for crocodile, and so you get crocodile skin. And then I'm trying to think of how to put this nicely. Basically, within 6 months, usually you're dead. And sometime between 0 and 6 months, your arm will actually fall off. It will literally rot off.
Oh, my goodness.
Anywhere
that
where
disgusting.
If you inject it in your foot, because a lot of junkies will inject it in between their toes because they can hide the track marks, well, your foot will fall off. Wherever you inject it, it will literally rot off. It's nasty. Just Google it, crocodile.
All right.
You won't be glad you did.
We got time for one more, my friend.
Vape pen fire causes flight delay in New York. A flight from New York to Houston was delayed when a vape pen battery overheated and caused flames to shoot from the overhead storage compartment. The Delta flight from LaGuardia International Airport to Houston was delayed Wednesday afternoon when the plane had to be evacuated due to a fire on board. Passengers said flames shot out of the overhead compartment when a vape pen battery on a carry-on bag overheated and caused the surrounding luggage to catch fire while passengers were still on board. You could tell it was a very strong smell. It smelled like a campfire. First passenger Rick Sakamoto told WCBS. Once I realized and someone yelled fire, it was startling, like, wow, I need to get off this plane right now. A flight attendant used a fire extinguisher to put the flames out before the passengers were evacuated back into the terminal. I'm just so glad it happened on the ground and not in the air, Sakamoto said.
No kidding.
So there you go. Plane delayed due to vape pen fire.
Caused by the battery. Very weird. On that note, let's get to the thought of the Dave.
Let's do it.
Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience support around this show. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What death of a celebrity really bothers you because of its strangeness? We got some interesting ones. Daryl starting things off. She says Natalie Wood, as she couldn't swim and mysteriously drowned.
Wearing a jacket.
I hear you there. Ancient Roman Goddess on Twitter. Anthony Bourdain, Chris Cornell, and Chester Bennington, because I suspect they were murdered by some sort of terrorist-type group. Interesting. Marty on Twitter. John Lennon, who was murdered just because he was famous. You know what's weird is that picture taken a few hours beforehand where he's actually signing an autograph from Mark David Chapman. How ominous is that?
Well, the whole thing with Chapman is just plain weird. It's another Catcher in the Rye thing.
It totally is.
Well, these people that assassinate other people and they seem to not remember it, like Sirhan. There's always some sort of like a tie to Catcher in the Rye.
Totally. All right, let's move on here. GAFA, all the way from the UK, says Brian Jones and the entire 27 Club.
Yep.
I'm surprised there's not more people talking about that. It's almost seeming, and I hate to use this term, like the fad of the 27 Club is dying off. We need more of it. Totally need more of it.
We need to talk about it.
Oscar on Twitter says, Elliot Smith, how do you stab yourself in the heart? Twice.
Good question.
Andreas. Jill Dando shot her on her doorstep, and the killer was never caught. Interesting.
It's in the book.
Matthew says, not much of a celebrity, but the death of Bitcoin exchange quadrillionaire CEO. No, Jerry Cotton, the CEO of Bitcoin exchange company. Full of questions, no answers. Apparently, he died in India opening an orphanage.
Okay.
Yes. And he's the only dude who had the password to the Bitcoin company.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Francesca, Whitney Houston's daughter, was a strange death. Becky, Michael Jackson. Every detail is weird about it. We talked about Jim Morrison tonight. That came from Stunak. Stephen, Jesus.
Okay. He's a celebrity.
He is. Coral, I have a few older ones that I question. John Wilkes Booth, Frank Olson, John Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald, and Marilyn Monroe for obvious reasons. More recently, Princess Diana and Michael Hastings. Kelly, I would have to say the Kennedys, from JFK to Bobby to JFK Jr. They're all just steeped in mystery that we will probably never get the answer to. Kevin and Kevin's Beard out of Texas says, I would say Chris Cornell. Only time I was ever emotional about a celebrity death. The claim is Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell were murdered because they were about to reveal a ring of pedophiles. Even his wife and daughter said he was of sound mind. Sad. Don't know about that. Gail, Natalie Wood. All evidence and testimony indicates her husband was complicit in her death, yet he is still free as a bird with no apparent change in sight. Jamie, Brittany Murphy and her husband was pretty weird, dying on the same thing in the same place within 6 months of each other. Does not get weirder than that. Renee, there are a few that bother me. JFK, Robert Kennedy, JFK Jr., Marilyn, Natalie Wood, Princess Di, Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, Bob Crane from Hogan's Heroes, George Reeves, Superman.
Yeah, Bob Crane is a weird one. That's a weird one. Yeah.
Totally. But we're going to end it on this one right here. And it goes to Steve. Oh, and Art Bell checks out on Friday the 13th. That's a good place to end it, Olaf. Where can we find Paranoia Magazine?
Paranoia Magazine on Facebook. Check out the Paranoid Traveler on the Paranoia channel on Roku or on YouTube.
Absolutely. And, of course, you can find all of your news at spacedoutradio.com. Clicking on the News tab, our great and efficient news director, Captain Gail Shirk, will take care of your reading needs all right there. We want to say a big thank you to Celeste Ward for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, for hanging out, talking about Hollywood. Death. Weird. Absolutely weird. We appreciate that. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going to have a little bit of fun, as the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is back. We're getting into some folklore and some monsters, because that's what the guru does best. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everyone listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be, especially those in our chat rooms tonight and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Please remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for listening in, telling your friends, and doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.
We're watching. We watch you fall.